I'm gonna be explaining to you right now, as a credit fiend, why credit unions are better than a bank. So let's go ahead and get into it. So a bank, right, is gonna be more for profit versus the credit union is not, right? So it's not going to be as more profit minded as the bank is, okay? And these are just my personal experiences, right? And then also a bank is going to have less of a relationship. So you have less, in my opinion, this is what I have happened, right? Because they're bigger, they care less about you. You're just more of a number to them. If that makes sense. Like, as my experience with being with like Navy Fed and being with like USAA, you feel more a part of a credit union, or I have felt more part of a credit union than I have any of the banks, right? That relationship is there. You can really build that relationship with them because they don't have the same thing, right? So let me see. The banks, as far as I know, a credit union is going to have that internal score. So correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever I apply for something at Navy Federal or something like that, and they send me the stuff in the mail, the documentation, they tell you what your internal score is. And I've never gotten that from a bank. So with a credit union, you have an internal score. So like I said, you're building that relationship with them. You keep money in your account, you keep things flowing in there. You know what I'm saying? You do good with your loans with them, you do good with your credit cards with them, you always pay them back. You're building up that internal score. And what's gonna happen is they're gonna look out for you when these banks right here are not. And that's what happened for me. None of these banks was messing with me because of what they saw I had going on. Now, I'm over here trying to run plays and stuff, but they don't know that I still have the money that they're seeing missing, right? I go over to a credit union, Navy Fed, they're throwing me a whole bag, like a whole bag. You know what I'm saying? A high limit credit card. What was the banks doing? Nothing. Denying, saying, nah, bro, like, we not messing with you, blah, 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 blah. Everything's good. My payment history is good. Everything's good. But Navy Fed just has that internal score. So it just gives you that extra push for them to say okay because they want you to be there. You know what I'm saying? These banks don't care if you're there or not. The credit unions do. That's why they have the internal score and they're willing to work with you depending on how your relationship has been with them. So you go to a credit union like Navy Federal, USAA, they got like what, like I think it's PenFed and then DCU. They got other ones. I think I'm gonna really get into DCU because I've been hearing good things about them. I think that's the next one I'm gonna get into. You need to get in there. Get in there for like 6 months, right? Get Especially if you're new and fresh to the credit stuff, get in there like 6 months. Start having your income come into those credit unions, right? Go for 6 months, apply, see if you get a pre-approval. I know Navy Federal, they got pre-approvals. USAA, I believe they do as well. Navy Fed, I know for a fact they do, because I did that recently, and that's how I knew that they was good with it. It was like, cool, like, we messing with you, you know what I'm saying? So that's what happened right there. That's why I say credit unions over banks all day. If you're new to this stuff, start with the credit unions first, then go over to the banks. You know what I'm saying? The banks are gonna be stingy, especially like again, Chase is super stingy. Um, just banks like that, Bank of America, they require you, you know what I'm saying? They want like higher limits. I mean, better credit scores and stuff like that. So like if you're new and stuff, they're not gonna really mess with you. And they're gonna give you a crazy interest rate. That's another thing that I almost forgot to mention. Like the banks will be a way higher interest rate than a credit union. They're capped off like at a certain point and they're low. Like Navy Fed right now, I'm pretty sure it's capped off at like 18%. Right? That's like the highest that their cards even go. 18%. That's not bad. Some people are paying that on a car right now that don't have good credit. On a car. So think about how much more a car costs versus a credit card. Now I mean their credit cards go up to like 25K. So that could easily be a car, but you're not spending the whole thing. Um, that's all I'm trying to get at right now. Okay. So go over a credit union, especially if you're new or something like that. Establish a good relationship with them, like 6 months plus, and then go ahead and start applying for them. I promise you, you're not gonna be disappointed. As long as you got, pretty good income, you watched the last video, you know what I'm saying, you're doing what you need to do in order to show that so that your next card can have a lot more. Hey, you know what to do. Tap into these videos, because that last video that I just uploaded, that's what's really gonna help you get the extra bag. Like, that's gonna make you go the extra mile. So watch that last video about how to get, I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet, but watch the last video on how to get a higher limit on your next approval on your credit card or whatever, how to get a higher limit, and do that along with this, applying for the credit unions. And I promise you ain't gonna be disappointed, because we fiending for this credit.